Hi there, and welcome to an episode of Ronan Nazarene Talks. I'm your host, Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films.
I'm your other host, Nazarene Prod from Nazarene Prod Films, whatever.
And today we're going to do another Powell and Pressburger double bill, because quite frankly, why not? So we're going to talk about A Canterbury Tale from 1944, and I Know Where I'm Going from 1945.
Yes, and I'm going to start describing the plot of A Canterbury Tale. These are both actually fairly simple stories, so it's not like trying to explain something really complicated. A Canterbury Tale is basically about an American soldier who gets off the wrong stop and is way to Canterbury, and he meets up with two other soldiers, a soldier and a land girl who's going to be working on the land during, as I said, during the war. On their way to the main bit of the town, someone puts glue on her. Someone comes up and puts glue on her hair and runs away. They don't know who it is. And it turns out this has been happening a lot in this town. And they have to try and figure out who put the glue on. Because the two of the guys are basically, one's on leave and one's stationed around the town. So they're both kind of interested, plus the land girl's interested in who put glue in her hair. And through the situation, they get involved with the town and they actually start to meet up, deal with the local children and just the local people and start to talk to them all and develop a bond with them. So the plot's about finding who dropped the glue in the hair. It's really about what the bonds are between people really in a town, whether it's temporary or whether it's permanent.
Yeah, because the kind of glue man mystery kind of comes and goes. It's not like the main focus of the film. It kind of drifts in and out of the film while other things are going on. This
is not like a serial killer film where that's the main plot. The glue man plot is basically there, and we can spoil who the glue man is because it's not that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not really an Agatha Christie.
I mean, you figure it. They kind of guess who it is early, and then it's try to prove it, and then do you need to prove it? And what's the point of the glue man? What's he has to do it for?
Yeah, and in the final analysis of it, it's like, is it that big a thing really anyway? It's just like,
no, who cares?
It kind of drifts out of the narrative, essentially.
Yes. So so Eric Portman plays a glue man. Just get it out of the way, so we're not trying to get it.
Yeah.
But you know it's him straight away. You know it's him.
Yeah.
So you see
he's the town magistrate.
Yes.
He's in the position of power.
And he's also the local historian who's passionate about the local area. The land girl, she's actually, her fiance's just died in a plane crash. So she's leaving London. She's trying to watch the land girl and just trying to work her way through grief, basically. She's not really dealing with it. The American soldier, played by an actual American soldier, who actually donated his entire salary to basically was called the coloured, I don't know what you call it, but it was just for the rights of people of colour in the army, just as he did his whole fee for that organisation to for better equality for people who might be prejudiced against, which is a nice gesture.
Yeah.
And Dennis Price in an early part as
I think it's actually one of his best performances.
Yeah, I mean it was basically when he was early on and probably was less mannered, and so because I didn't even know who it was until I looked who it was on the credits at the end, because I didn't really click that was who's played it.
Yeah.
It just never.
And really... Sheila Sim plays the land girl, and again, it's another good female role in a Powell and Pressburger film. Surprise.
And she actually went on to marry Richard Attenborough, in case you're interested.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's a film also about the US UK relationship. It's about language barriers, not just American and US. It's also North England versus South England. You know, the locals talk, and Sheila Sim doesn't actually know what they're saying, even though she's just from London, so she's not actually that far away. But it's just the difference in language.
Yeah, the American gets on with them better than she does.
Yeah, because there's common ground.
The wood,
Which was
the,
about, yeah, there's wonderful conversations about wood, very much in a matter of life and death. It's, yes, there's differences between the two cultures, but there's also commonalities as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is a kind of very charming because you think it's going in one direction, but that's just the plot. And then it's about the conversation that goes on at the side of that plot. As I try to work it out, it's about the American talking to the guy about wood. It's about American meeting up with the kids and talking to them and hijinks for them. It's about the Dennis Price character actually learning about the local area, and you find out that he's actually an organist, and he's become a bit cynical about life because he's not getting what he wants to do.
Because
so
he's it. Oh, no, sorry.
So he sense the soul despite the kind of cynicism he tries to portray.
Yeah, because I was just going to say he's introduced pretty much in a mini tank, stomping through the countryside and like ruining fields and stuff. So
well,
that's how he's introduced.
He's introduced in Darkness before that as one of the three people, but you don't really get to see his face that much until you see Darkness, see the tanks, and then you find out he's not that person at all. That's just his job.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. It's really well written, and the characters are really well rounded, and they're people you actually want to spend time with, which we'll maybe talk about the other film as well.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that it's written well for a Powell and Pressburger film.
Yeah, and even like the Glue Man, Magistrate, and the Land Girl, both of them don't like each other to start with because they misinterpret who the other person is. Yeah. And then once they actually get to know each other, they actually get on pretty well, or very well by the end of it. And it's because they're both very different from what they originally appear to be. You know, because he appears upper, like stuffy and just cold. And it turns out he's not really. He's got a soul. It's just he's got a very misguided idea of how to keep the girls and away from the Americans. And it's like it's a kind of psychology that you could see someone having in the war quite easily, and just like, no, you don't do that. That's not right.
Yeah, and people aren't respecting the history, and they're not respecting the countryside. So he takes action. But again, his view of the land girl at the start is, "Oh, you can't do this work, and you can't work in the country because you're a city girl." But again, that changes as well.
Yeah, once he gets to know her, it's like, no, she's not who she appears to. She actually likes the countryside. She'd much prefer being in the countryside than being in the city, just where she lives.
Yeah.
Before the war.
And the way the film sets itself out, you almost feel like you want to live in the country because it's just this. Because again, if you're looking for a film with real narrative drive, this isn't the Archers film for real narrative drive. This is the one that kind of meanders like a day in the country, and it just kind of washes, and it just goes where it likes, when it likes, and it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that narrative drive.
Yeah. It's one of Kim Newman's favourite films. They did a top 10 list once, and that was one of his favourite films.
Yeah.
That's when I first heard about it.
Yeah.
Before I was into Powell Pressburger. Yeah, it is a kind of straight. It does have this kind of narrative that doesn't really care about the plot that much. There's just enough there always to keep you from getting wondering where we're going. It's always an element somewhere that puts you in the next direction and swerves the story a little bit. It's more about story than plot. The plot's just there to get you from A to B. As I said, the glue man doesn't matter.
Somebody else. Yeah, in the hands of somebody else, it would be a completely different film. The glue man would be front and center in that mystery. That would kind of overtake the film, and it's not really about that.
Yeah, because it's 20 minutes and it's basically a children's film where it's American
Yeah,
soldier and the kids.
yeah.
And they're great because the kids are just like kids. They're not
Yeah.
like many adults, they're kids. They like certain things. They're helping out find the glue man so they can get money to buy football, to play football. And it's like, well, that's perfect kid logic.
Yeah, and having the kids essentially reenact or just acts out like a battle is obviously, this was made during World War II, so it's like,
yeah, they're playing soldiers.
Obvious. Yeah, it's playing soldiers.
Yeah, and it's
which is wonderful.
And it's a bit where it turns out one of the leaders' kids is actually the son of the chemist, basically. And because the American asks, like, okay, what's the local chemist like? And then one of the kids goes, he should know it's his dad.
Yeah.
And it's just charming. It's like just the way kids are. And the American isn't a trained actor, but his awkwardness just actually works really well because that's the way people are.
Yeah.
And it becomes charming pretty quickly because he's different from the rest. And it's like the fact he's not a trained actor actually gives it a nice little feel that's unique.
Because it's realistic, because that's what American soldiers were like when they were meeting English people in the house. So.
Yeah, because it's not like some American confident guy. It's just this guy. He's just like he demystifies the whole idea of an American. It just didn't have been the glamour guy. He's just another guy.
Yeah.
And the Dennis Price character is just another guy who loves organs. He loves church organs. That's what he wants to do.
He loves organs.
Yeah. That's his thing. He loves the idea of the music he made for an organ. That's just his thing. It's not my thing. It's not something I would be interested in, but in fact, they sell it as that's what he's into. And you actually can see his logic as film goes on.
No, it's just they could put that in the trailer. Dennis Price as the man who loves organs.
Yes. Chasing down the glue man.
Yeah, chasing down the glue man.
It's almost a Sherlock Holmes movie. Like, where's Basil Rathbone to sort it all out at the end?
Yeah, what they should have cast Basil Rathbone instead of Eric Portman. That'd be interesting.
I don't think he's good though, to be honest.
No.
He's a wonderful mix of like the upper class, but also there's something below the kind of romanticism you get in a lot of artist films that's below the surface. He's very much in the vein of like the kind of blimp, the German. It's that kind of same kind of thing of mix of warmth and coldness that's there. It's not sentimentalized.
No.
And as soon as he finds out about the guy actually an organist, he's an organist, he suddenly warms to him really quickly.
Yeah.
Because he says, oh, that guy's got a passion too. He's not just someone who's just floating through life. He's got a passion for something. And when he finds out that the land girl was engaged to the local historian guy who was working through the Canterbury hills, and she obviously loved it there, and she obviously wanted to live in that kind of area. He warmed to her straight away because they've got this bond that's not normal.
Yeah, because there's a whole line about, she's got a caravan in London, which is up on bricks, and that's the caravan that she spent time in that village on her holidays before the war. So she still has memories of that. And obviously the reality of that is different when she actually sees it. But it's that, again, that romanticized element that runs through quite a lot of Powell and Pressburger's films. Again, there's a character that says, I'll believe that when there's a halo around my head. And again, it's that kind of magical stuff like, like Colonel Blimp. Oh yeah, I won't change until there's a flood in my house or whatever, or the river in my house, a lake, in my house.
Yeah.
So that still has those kind of Powell and Pressburger elements.
It comes like a pagan element that floats under the surface of the working conservative society they live in. There's something supernatural that floats through it that's not quite logical, but it's just there. It's just an atmosphere of it. And everyone, a lot of the characters feel it. They may not be able to explain it, but they just feel it as a kind of something that's just there.
And that's why Powell and Pressburger films are always fascinating. Powell himself's fascinating because he does have so many facets and contradictions.
Yeah, he's you don't know as much about Pressburger because he was more private and he wasn't the front man for them. But obviously, so much of his obsessions came through the films. He wrote them, and he was kind of the person who could. I mean, you feel a lot of the German history in Colonel Blimp.
Yeah.
In the same way, in this one, you can really feel the sense of British history. Like, you're feeling that Pell was into all this stuff. He was telling Pressburger, you need a bit of this, you need a bit of that. And obviously, because Pressburger probably liked stories, because all the films were about storytelling, he probably researched all of this Canterbury stuff as well. And so there's lots of little details that most films wouldn't put in. They wouldn't put in the bit at the beginning where it's the travels in Canterbury, where that's really important, that atmosphere, even though the people no never meets, it's just what they imagine to be. That's important because it ties into the end as they're moving to Canterbury to find out all about what's causing them issues and try to get some sort of resolution.
Yeah, it opens with a quote from Chaucer, Canterbury Tale, strangely enough.
Yeah, amazing they did that. Eh? I mean, who'd have thunk it?
And then we go back to the oldie days, and we have the cut between the Hawk and then the Spitfire. I mean, obviously everybody talks about the bone to the spaceship in 2001, but Powell did it in Canterbury Tale with the Hawk to the Spitfire, and then we're back in modern days.
Yeah,
I kind of always remembered a little bit more in the olden days, but it's literally like 2 minutes and then it's that transition.
It's your imagination. You've been caught up in the atmosphere too.
Yeah.
But that olden day feel floats through the film though.
Yeah.
It's still got that. I mean, Portman's talking about it a lot in the film. So does the Land Girl. There's people talking about it a lot, and then you feel of that olden days, even from the wood, because the American soldiers turned by the wood and how they brought it up in his area and how they built things with it, and the old guys talking about it as well. It's like it's a passion for both of them. Like no one knows about this kind of stuff, but it's important to those two guys.
Yeah, and Portman's kind of office, or what's almost like his throne room, I think there's a ducking stool, there's an old pike weapon.
Yeah.
So he's obviously still steeped in that himself.
Yeah. It's just something to flow. And the town itself still has a sense of history, even just in architecture. Even if they don't know it all, even if people in the locals don't know all the details, it's there as part of their life, even if they don't quite understand some of it.
Yeah, I mean, the room that the American stays in, there's like a kind of really long shot of the bed and with a light coming in. I mean, we should note both these films, as far as I'm aware, are not on Blu-ray, and they should be, because I mean, they're both beautifully shot. And there's scenes in the bedroom with the light coming in that's just absolutely wonderful.
And then a guy comes by in the hay as well, and they start talking to each other. And the guy on top of the hay was a kid.
Yeah, it's a kid.
Yeah, it's a kid. Yeah, and talking about the top of the hay, yapping to each other. So it's a normal conversation. It's like you'd never get that in a modern film.
No.
Or they make a big deal about it. And this one, it's just a thrown away thing. It's they have a little conversation and it moves on, and that's it. And it's like, but it's a perfect atmosphere. And just the kids just wandering around the whole town, like the whole town's their play area. And people just leave them alone to do what they're doing. It's like, the kids are doing what they want. Just let them to have fun.
Plus, the kids aren't actually annoying, which they are in quite a lot of films.
I know, they're just kids.
Even the kids are like fully rounded characters.
Yeah, and there's a great bit with the little kid. He's wandering around this big jacket, and the jacket say it's the information. And the kids have gone way too far to spycraft.
Yeah,
they've actually gone from they didn't need to do any of this stuff to and not look suspicious. Don't cared anyway. To suddenly looking suspicious because this kid's like.
Yeah, because the American soldier initially says, this place is weird because look at that kid, it's the summer and he's got this huge heavy jacket on.
Yeah.
But it's because he's actually hiding evidence. So
I know, and the kid have taken too far, they've suddenly done a spy move in their heads.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're the most obvious person, you're just lucky no one cares.
Yeah, it becomes one of our aircraft is missing just for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that's a just charming thing, is you probably the kids' rages because they're so good and they're so much fun. And then they've this whole little story with the American soldier that's just great.
Yeah.
And there's a really great scene with the Land Girl and Portman talking on the hills.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of the best scenes in an artist film. Just the atmosphere of it, and they're just sitting there, just talking. It's like, yeah, that's all you need sometimes. And then there's a great scene towards the end where Dennis Price actually gets to play the big organ at Canterbury Cathedral. And to him, this is heaven. There's also this great melancholy because he's going to go out off to war. He may not survive. The American is on leave, but obviously he's going to war as well. I mean, and the woman, her fiance, does come back. Ultimately, he was thought as dead, but he's not dead. There's a sense of fragility, like,
yeah, you don't know what condition he's going to be in.
Yeah. Also, you don't know who's going to survive this war. Like, these characters may die. That's maybe the last moment of peace before they go and die. You don't know.
Yeah.
There's no sense of them, or they're going to, not a normal film, but or they will survive and they'll meet up after war or something. No, you don't know. It's like they could die.
Yeah.
The odds are some of them are going to die.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of, and there's none of that whitewashing thing. It's just like this is a moment for everybody. It's a moment of grace, and then they're going back to their lives. It's almost a lot of adventure trying to find the glue man. It's a lot of adventure for them, and
diversion.
Yep, and then it could be death afterwards. You don't know.
Yeah, and there's also a wonderful scene with the village idiot.
I know. Are you the village idiot? By any chance?
Is it that obvious?
Yeah. But then Paul lets him walk away for a while. Keep him on screen.
It's actually a really atmospheric shot.
Yeah.
It's really quite a strange shot, but it's actually quite wonderful.
Also, Charles Hawtrey in an early role as the guy
turns up as a train inspector.
Yeah, who's just annoying to everybody. Who just everyone wants to punch, including the girl. She was always wants to strangle him, but at the end of it,
and
there's this whole thing of, sorry.
Oh, you.
You.
No, I was just going to say there's a wonderful shot when they go on the train near the end of the film and they go through a tunnel, and of course they're just lit so beautifully. It's just fantastic. Sorry.
You know, I was just saying there's this whole bit about how you get glue out of hair and just the details of it all. And you get the land girl talking to other women who've had it happen, and there's just a variety of different women. Some of them, oh yeah, that happened to me. And other ones are raging mad about it. And it's like just a variety of people and the different reactions to what happened. It's just practical. See this whole other thing about the women in the town, in the village as well, which you would never get in a normal film. They wouldn't spend all this time on these characters who never saw anything either.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately the thing, is they never saw anything.
Plus, again, you do get a real sense of community.
Yeah. Because they're discovering the community as they talk, as they hunt this person down. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. Because it's in war, and who cares if someone's going a bit crazy.
There's bigger things to worry about.
Yeah. Because they are facing potential death.
Yeah, especially as you see that kind of montage as she's going around Canterbury and all the bombed out previous businesses, and
they've all
moved to this place, relocated to this place because all was bombed out.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful, that whole thing, and it just is just creepy, that sense of them just surviving through wartime and just getting on with it. It's a matter of fact that what's going on, and all the time with the lights, that light's too big to get that tunnel like that down. And there's a sense there's always a potential danger somewhere, even though everyone's getting on with their lives.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful film.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's second tier Powell and Pressburger, but their second tier is still excellent. So, it's not, for me, it's not like a masterpiece, maybe because it's a little disjointed, and again, the narrative just kind of floats about, but it's still excellent. But for me, it's like second tier, but again, their second tier is like so high.
Yeah, well, actually, for me, it's one of the top ones. I think it's just one of the top. In the same realm as Colonel Blimp for me. I actually like this one better than something like A Matter of Life and Death. Even though A Matter of Life and Death is good, I like this one better. Because
that's absolutely. I mean, again, it's like nitpicking because they're
yeah,
when you actually think. I mean, certainly, Canterbury Tale is one that I don't watch that often, but then when you watch the ones you don't watch that often, you go, why don't I watch that more often?
yeah, it is a kind of
Their body of work
it's
is
when it sticks my head a lot though, more than some of the other ones. This one sticks my head more than something like Matter of Life and Death, because Matter of Life and Death is charming, but it's got obvious where it's going, even though it's wonderful. This one is a bit more mysterious, so it kind of gets to me more than
yeah,
something.
for me, A Matter of Life and Death second tier as well. It's still excellent. But
Yeah, yeah, it's like I like this one more than some of the famous ones. I'd actually prefer this one to Red Shoes as well. I like this one more than Red Shoes, even though Red Shoes is wonderful. I just like
yeah,
this one better.
yeah, I mean,
That's just the thing. It's like some films you like more than the more obvious claimed ones. Just
yeah, of course. I mean, one of my favorites is Spy in Black, which never ranks anywhere near their top stuff, but I just love the Spy in Black.
yeah, no, that's just one of those. That's always one or two that you're gonna love more than the consensus. For this, for me, this is one of those ones.
Yeah, but again, you're talking about a body of work that is hard to beat. Really,
Yeah,
there's not a lot of
basically,
people that can compete with this.
it's a 10-year period, basically. Right,
Yeah,
it's 10, 11 years basically we were at the peak, and
yeah, they're
then
untouchable.
they basically started to lose funding, so it was just hard to keep going.
Yeah, because the films that they made were just completely different to what other people were
Yeah,
making or what was going on.
yeah, and basically because Michael Powell lost the temper to one of the financiers and really said something he should have.
Yeah,
That's how they lost the funding, so he couldn't lose it.
yeah,
He lost the temper. It was like, geez, someone should have just gagged him.
yeah, because he was one of those kind of geniuses that was, if you can't do anything for me, I don't want to speak to you. So it's like,
Yeah, yeah. So he's his own worst enemy in a way.
yeah,
One of those directors who really are kind of in their own head a lot.
yeah,
Maybe don't have niceties of human interactions that some other people would have.
yes,
Yeah. So it's obviously why Pell can make Red Shoes of the Anton Walbrook character. You know, those
yeah,
obviously ties. Yeah.
yes. And that's why he plays the father in Peeping Tom,
I know,
probably.
yeah. He knew. I was like, okay, I can't dodge this one.
Yes. So we'll move on to I Know Where I'm Going from 1945. And this almost starts off as like Powell and Pressburger's screwball comedy. There's a wonderful title sequence as we're introduced to this character of various ages who knows where she's going. Um, a woman called Joan Webster, played by Wendy Hiller, who by the time we meet her, where she really knows where she's going, she's 25 and she's going to go from Manchester, I believe, up to Glasgow, and then on to the Hebrides because she's going to get married to one of the richest men in the country who owns Consolidated Chemical Industries. And she's getting to an island, but because of the weather, the locals refuse to take her over just because the weather's so bad. And she's kind of,
Don't want to die.
yeah, and she's kind of trapped in this limbo while she meets local characters like Roger Livesey and Pamela Brown. And it's that whole thing of, I know where I'm going, I know what I want, it's right there, but I can't get to it. And by the time she gets to it, maybe something has changed.
Yeah. I think from what I've researched, this one was written really fast by Pressburger. Like once they got the idea of someone has to knows where they're going, and every time they get there, they don't want what they wanted, and they pretty
Yeah,
much once they had that description, it's like I can write this pretty, I can do this, and they didn't take them long.
yeah. I think it was one of Powell's favourite films. I think the music was wanted it played at his funeral. And again, it's that dichotomy of Powell, this English gentleman, but he loved the Highlands. He loved the Highlands of Scotland. He loved nature. So it's just that, again, another facet to Powell's bow and his character. Again, it's spending time with characters you want to spend time with. I mean, it's about an hour and a half, it feels like it's about 60 minutes.
Yeah.
You just want to spend more time with these strange little characters.
Yeah, because I mean, Canterbury Tale was about the Avon in England. This one's about Avon in Scotland. But it's all about what binds people together rather than okay, this is
Yeah,
a separate country. No, this is all about Britain, but it's different parts of Britain, and the characters are introduced to talk to these characters and find out what
yeah.
they're about.
And Hiller and obviously her fiance come from the world of money, and
Yeah,
the locals just don't, even though they do say, "Oh yeah, I would like the money," but it's like it's not that important. At one point, Hiller tries to buy a young guy to go to essentially take her over, even though it's dangerous.
yeah,
You know, she doesn't understand that you can't just buy anything.
yeah,
And they just have a different philosophy. But again, it's not ever done in a kind of patronizing way of looking down on yokels who live, a
yeah.
carefree life. They're treated properly because, strangely enough, it's well written.
Yeah, no, I mean the characters have to worry about money. It's not that's the only priority in their lives. It's like
Yeah.
I want money to have my freedom. I don't really want to be trapped, defined by it. Well, her future husband seems to be defined by money. He wants the money for. He's an off-screen character, but you keep on finding out more and more about him, and ultimately,
Yeah.
it's like he's fairly unlikable. He's fairly cold, and
Yeah, again, the locals are like, he wants to spend all this money on buying a swimming pool. He's right next to the ocean. He wants to import all this salmon. He's right next to, seas of salmon. It's
yeah,
all those little things.
yeah. No, I mean, basically, he's scared of nature. He wants to be in nature, but he's not. He's intimidated by it. He's surrounded by people who are not intimidated by it, and he doesn't
Yeah.
like it, and he keeps his distance from them. And there's another rich couple who are also hiring out a place in that area, and they have the same kind of feeling of, I
Yeah.
don't trust this. I don't like this. This is not good for me. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is all about nature. I mean, the wind, the rain, waterfalls. Obviously, there's Powell's two dogs appear in the film. There's a golden eagle, Torquil the eagle, which was played by Mr. Ramshaw, apparently.
All right.
I don't know whether he had a long career, the eagle, but
Yeah, that's a running gag through the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's find this golden eagle, and he's
And
been
the guy, there's this
portrayed
eccentric
as
colonel who's training him.
yeah, and he's been portrayed by the locals as someone killing their some animals. And it turns out he was framed by a fox.
Yes.
That's a whole
So
plot
again,
in this film.
Yeah, again, so there's a whole subplot of that. There's also another subplot about this ruined castle that's cursed, or the curse of, if the laird of Kaloran, goes in it, it'll be cursed. But then also at the end of the film, we kind of find out what the actual nature of the curse is.
Yeah,
But again, very much like the Glue Man and Canterbury Tale, those aren't really the most important narrative drive. This is again about atmosphere.
yeah,
It's about the people. Pamela Brown's brilliant.
yeah,
She's almost like a force of nature herself.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's about finding out what makes people tick in this area, and it's about when Hill's character actually slowing down because she's so in a rush.
Yeah.
And here's how you get there. You meet this time. It's like her life's full of a rush, and it's like it's not life. That's just you, just like ticking a box and not living a life.
She
And
knows where she's going.
yeah, when she actually has to force to actually sit down and deal with people, it's something different from what Shank's life is, really.
Yeah.
Because everyone else knows who they are, apart from her. She thinks she knows who she is, but she really doesn't. She just kind of reacting to what she expects herself to be. It's almost like her character when she was younger, the idea of what she was going to be. You just try to live up to that, and it's like life is just like, nah, that's not life. That's just an existence.
And the other characters kind of have no sense of time. The guy who takes people over to the island, he'll be like, I'll go over when the wind stops, and when the wind stops, it'll decide when to stop, not me.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously she is on a timetable and she's got to get across.
Yeah, and because Roger Lively characters who's a Laird, he's just back from the army. I mean, the war has just ended. He's still got time in the army before he gets let out. So this is his leave. And he doesn't take it, even though he wants to go to the island. He's not in that much of a rush. He likes seeing his friends and going to the Kalian thing, and it's like, that's fine. It's like, if I don't get over now, I'll go over later because I know it's there. And because he doesn't have much money, he's letting the place out to her future husband. He says if the money he makes from that will allow him to stay there for years without having to do anything else.
Yeah.
So he's having to compromise in some way. And it's like, that's just his life, is compromising.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we said in the intro, it is a simple film. It's almost like a template film because we've seen it, lots of times since, as far as, somebody who really knows what they want, but then obviously they find out maybe that's not what they want.
Yeah.
But it's just so beautifully executed. Again, you just want to spend time with these characters because, again, they're so well written. And again, it has that atmosphere. Pearl and Pressburn never did an overtly supernatural film or an overtly kind of horror film, but there's always those kind of elements of atmosphere from Black Narcissus, and the Red Shoes Tales of Hoffman has some kind of supernatural things going on. And again, I know where I'm going. It's almost thick with atmosphere and the kind of running, the little almost ominous thing about the curse, and then of course we find out that's perhaps not as ominous as it is made out to be.
Yeah, because it does stop for characters. A lot of romantic comedies followed this and followed that ideal. I think there's other films before this that did that too. This is almost like they kind of, what can we do with this idea and how do we switch around? And it's just like hanging out with people, really, rather than focusing the plot and plot mechanics. Just having her actually talk to people and figuring it out, and going to Kaylee and having the old couple who they might make a speech of. And
the looks that Livesey and Hiller give each other without speaking in that scene when they're standing by the ladder are absolutely filthy.
Yeah.
Filthy for 1945.
Yeah. I mean, it's another Roger Lively performance that's amazing. I mean, whenever he's in an artist film, you're going to get see some top class stuff because he was Colonel Blimp and he was a guy in My Life and Death. But also in this one, he got to be a romantic lead, and he had to lose weight for it because Paul told him maybe he's a bit too stocky for a romantic lead, so he lost the weight for the film. Yeah. And he's amazing in this film. He's just so good in it.
Yeah.
Because he has to be charming without being charming. You have to have a sense of someone who's charming, but not too much. Just someone who's nice and decent, but also we've got a little bit extra kind of movie star feeling to him, but it's actually under the surface. So it's actually harder than just doing the Cary Grant thing. It's a layered performance.
But then you have that scene where he has to get aggressive and tough with her because she's determined to go over and use this, give this boy 20 quid, which again, he's never seen 20 quid in his life, to take her over. And Livesey obviously has to get aggressive and tough, and that's a really good scene as well.
And that whole sequence of the whirlpool, as when they go over, that's amazing. It's just like, and it's one of those ones. Knowing Michael Pell was probably pretty dangerous how they did it because he was a stickler for.
And when that wall of darkness is coming towards them, and of course, symbolically, she loses her wedding dress during that incident.
Yeah, and she's starting to lose her ties to her what she thought she was, and she's now resisting. And she resists as much as she can. So that's all the kind of material world is getting destroyed. She has to kind of find her actual center rather than the easy way out, which is to marry this rich guy.
Yeah. And again, it's beautifully shot. I mean, the first time she meets Livesey is kind of in darkness and shadow, And all, it's just beautifully shot.
Yeah, and there's scenes in buses and things as well. It's like many romantic comedies have scenes in buses.
Yeah.
In an old battered down bus, and they're just chatting. And you'll notice some actors from other Scottish films in here as well. You'll notice faces that are.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of faces that Paul likes.
And also a very young Petula Clark as this little girl who just seems to figure everything out.
Yes.
She's not actually in it as much as she probably should have been because she's fantastic.
Yeah, because she's way smart on her parents. Her parents are just idiots. And she's like, God, just leave me alone. I just want to get on things.
She's got it all figured out. Maybe she knows where she's going.
Yeah, she's almost like the version.
She's a sequel.
She's a younger version of the lead character, almost like the next generation of that. Yeah. She'll go to Jamaica and know where she's going.
Yes.
Or something. Yeah.
I mean, in some level, it is a difficult film to talk about because it's about atmosphere and it's about characters. It's a really simple plot, but it's just done so well.
Yeah. I mean, strange enough, the Wendy Hiller character is actually the least part of it. She's a central character. And it's well acted, but it's like everyone else is more interested in her in the film. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I mean, the Colonel's wonderful. It just kind of goes in and out of rooms talking about his eagle, but he's fantastic.
Yeah. I know, she's almost the straight man for the film. She has to just hold the centre of the film. So everyone else is doing the eccentric stuff. She has to be interesting without, or still playing it as someone who's selfish and knows where she's going.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult performance, actually, because it's actually a lot more layered than she has to ever let on.
Yeah. And
you have to kind of feel things changing going on while not actually everyone see it.
Yeah.
So it's a much better performance than it probably looks on the surface the first time round because she has to change a lot without seeming to change a lot.
Yeah.
So it's everyone else gets to choose scenery a bit more than she does.
Yeah, like I said, Pamela Brown's fantastic. Her hair's always like straggling, wet. She comes in, it's almost like she is a force of nature.
So basically,
dogs. I think.
I spend the last minute talking about how good Wendy Hiller is, and then you just say, Pamela Brown's great.
Yeah, that's no, you're right. It's easy to overlook Hiller's performance, but she needs to be good for it to really work properly. So I just love the scene where she's going, it's within touching distance, but I can't get to it.
Yeah, she'd see it always, but it's never quite there. It's almost mirage. Something that's.
And you can always believe that there's other forces at work that are preventing her getting there.
Yeah. Basically, life is saying, honey, he's a git. Don't.
Yeah. Because even the only time we hear him is on the phone, and he sounds like a complete arse. So
yeah, I mean, it's obviously no one likes him, and his only friend are those other rich people that no one seems to like, and it's like instantly when they go somewhere with the rich people, they end up going to kill to get away from them. So basically they're away from as quickly as possible. Even the Wendy Hiller character's like, okay, let's get away from these people. These are it's got a kind of just a sense of she knows she's going to hell if she gets over that water. So it's almost like she gets over there, it's almost like death taking her to the other side.
Yeah, it comes to the river Styx.
Yeah. The metaphor of Scotland is a river Styx. That's basically what we're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. But
the road to the underworld.
Yep. Which you'd love to see a Paul Pressburger film on the underworld. Actually, think of it. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a wonderful film. For me, it's not as high as some of the other Paul Pressburger films, but it still is wonderful. I think I like this the way you talked about Canterbury Tales. The way I kind of.
Yeah, I think we switch over because I think I know where I'm going. Again, it's not right up there, but it's still for me a 5-star film. So.
Yeah. So viewers can get the thing is, you love this one, I love the other one. It's like, it's full package.
Yeah,
You've got
I
a
mean,
defender.
again, you're talking about some of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah. It's like, which ones affect you more?
Yeah.
You know.
But again, both these films need Blu-rays. I mean, I
Yes.
know, the BFI did a great job with one of our aircraft is missing.
Yeah.
But I know where I'm going. There's a Criterion DVD, but it really needs a Blu-ray because again, both these films have beautiful black and white cinematography.
Or just go straight to 4K. Just remaster and have a 4K and just that's it. That'll make you actually have to buy a 4K player at that point.
I mean, it should really be up to the BFI. It should be their responsibility to try and get every Powell and Pressburger film onto Blu-ray.
Yeah. I mean, overall, as a leader, it's actually on Blu-ray and this one isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, one of the weaker films is on Blu-ray and this one has just been left. Or both of these have been left, and it's like, and Canterbury Tales is always the one that is forgotten about because it didn't do well when it was released. It was a failure.
Yeah, it's one of the ones that is kind of neglected.
Yep. Which
I'll admit I'm guilty of as well, because like I say, I don't really watch that one as often as I should. But then rewatching them, it's like, why don't I watch these more often? Oh, it's because they've got another 6 masterpieces.
Yeah, all in that same decade.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's like, almost toss them out as if they were easy.
Yes. Yeah, it's like,
oh, another one. I pity all of you.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, this is the same time period that like Orson Welles was making Citizen Kane and Mr. Ambersand. So it wasn't just them tossing out masterpieces if they were easy. Other people were doing it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you were getting just a lot of great works. Despite the fact that we're in wartime, you were still getting some amazing films.
Yeah, that's
in this whole period.
More incredible.
Yeah, because I mean, this is in America. Howard Hawks was doing some of his best work as well. Yeah. It was just like everyone was just tossing out masterpieces.
That's why the late 30s, 40s, and 50s are pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to hit noir. Just as these films were getting made, basically, this was almost like head towards noir. We were going to get pretty soon. You do have a lot of shadows in these films. Yeah. It is almost pointing towards noir, but it's done in a much more kind-hearted way.
Yeah, they're both shot by Erwin Hillier. So they're both the same cinematographer. So.
I think we're going to see something else about him there. I don't know.
I don't think he worked with Powell and Pressburger again. So.
I mean, I thought you were about to say something about him. I was like, okay, I'll let you come in.
No. Yeah. But they both look great.
Yeah. You've let down the viewers now because everyone's probably expecting something amazing there since I've just set you up.
No, directed by the same person. Sorry, shot by the same person.
Yeah.
Well, directed by the same person as well.
Yeah. So these are two wonderful, wonderful films that you should see. These are great. I'm very happy to watch them again. Let's face it, these videos are basically to encourage us to watch these films, and we made the video just to see it was for a reason.
Yeah, and then it's like, why don't I watch these more often?
Yep.
Oh, they've got a huge backlog, that's why.
Yeah, but also because I think they're not upgrading you really want them. But I think a lot of Powell Pressburger films, I'm waiting for the Blu-ray release. It's like, they're not coming. It's like, I'd rather watch the Blu-ray, but it's not there yet.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating.
Spy in Black and Contraband, if anyone's listening.
Yes. So I think that's us. We will do more Powell Pressburger films. We're trying to mix and match stuff just now. We've got a bunch of directors we're covering. I think we're just expanding as we go for different directors to cover. So that's us, I think. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye.